So I knew a bit about the former Yugoslavia before coming here to Bosnia on this trip with Remembering Srebrenica. I'd learnt about this conflict during my studies at university as an undergraduate, and then my my master's studies in peace studies. I'd always wanted to come and visit the region. I had a lecturer who was really passionate about the region and how friendly and warm the region was despite all the conflict that had happened. So when this opportunity arose and I was told about the opportunity to come as part of a delegation to visit Srebrenica and to stay in Sarajevo, I was really, I really wanted to apply to come, and I'm really glad I have. So far it's been a very intense trip. You can read and you can watch and you can listen, and yet actually being here is very different. Driving along the roads, driving along the river and seeing the sights and of where these things happen that you've read about is a different kind of experience. I feel like it's just helped me to piece together lots of the unanswered questions I have, and the chance to meet people who've been directly affected either as children during the siege in Sarajevo or survivors like Hassan of the Death March, or I think in a moment we're going to have the chance to meet some mothers of victims of Srebrenica. That adds a whole different dimension. Finally, for me, I'm involved in education work. I think helping young people to understand the world around them when they're young is a massively important thing. And so my pledge involves speaking to some of the school pupils, school groups that I have access to through my job, to explain to them a conflict they might know nothing about, as well as to say some good things about Bosnia, because it's been a really wonderful stay here and I've really enjoyed my time. So a bit of both, and to add some information for them to know about how this country unraveled and how easy in some ways that can be. So that's my pledge for when I get back after this delegation.
I remember the events of the Srebrenica genocide being on television in Britain in the 1990s, because I'm old enough to remember that, and I studied quite a lot about it before I came, when I knew I was coming. But I learnt so many different things when I was here, and I think the most important thing that I learnt was really these things. Where I live and work in England is a very multicultural community where many different faiths and many different cultures, and I think we believe that this is permanent and solid. But one of the lessons of Srebrenica and Sarajevo is that you can believe that, but sometimes that multiculturalism can be very fragile and very weak unless it's defended and protected. And one of the things I think I learnt from this was how important it is to defend our integration of our communities. But also a genocide is something systematically planned. You know, Directive 7, Directive 9. This didn't happen as a crime of passion. It was organized. And we have to be aware and alert of the dangers that exist in our own communities, that the same kinds of things could happen. So what do I want to take back to my own world and my own community? I think the most important thing is we learn from the Bosnian experience to make sure that, one, we don't make the same mistakes in our own communities, but secondly also, because of the failure of our own international community to Bosnia, that we continue to have a responsibility to what happens here. And we failed you in 1995, and we mustn't fail you again. You very sadly teach us that a diverse community is precious, but it's also easy to destroy if you allow them to organize that destruction.
I'm Dr. Helen Connolly. I am visiting Bosnia from the University of Bedfordshire in England. I've come here with 9 of my students to inform them more about the genocide that happened here firsthand. I teach international criminal law at the university and have never been here myself. And I thought this would be a profound experience for them to think about what they've learned from the textbooks and to hear firsthand about what happened here, the international community's response to it as it was happening, and the continued international community's response to it in the form of the ICTY. The most profound thing I've learned here actually is how to recover ordinary life after the profound death of ordinary life that happens during and after genocide and war. The learning has happened through hearing stories and hearing the stories from survivors, from mothers, and you become part of that story, which is one of the reasons I came here with my students, because I think in becoming part of a story of hate, extreme hate, we can take this back to our communities. We have fractured communities in the UK, and we can learn a lot from what happened here in Bosnia. We've really been pleased to be here. It's been enjoyable because we've experienced the hospitality. You get one narrative in the UK, and you get one narrative when you're learning from books, which is about a narrative of suffering, and what we've experienced here is a narrative of hope and a narrative of hospitality, and I hope to bring other students back here again.